Uncle, so what mistakes am I making? What mistakes is my generation making?
See, everybody is different. But in general, if I were to make one generalization, I think very many people who are young today are in a bit of a hurry, too much of a hurry. And achieving something significant often takes a decade or more. So, and if you're in a hurry, you end up putting stress on yourself too soon. It's okay. Success takes time. Don't be impatient. Right? So that is one thing I'd say. Second is there are far too many people, young people I meet, who are snacking on jobs.
Jumping between?
You really have to commit to an organization and a job and a role, right, for some time to make a mark, achieve something, have something on your resume that has lasting impact value, where you can claim something. So, if I ask, somebody to ask you maybe 10 years from now, what do you think has been your biggest accomplishment in the last 10 years? Well, if you've been through 7 jobs in 10 years, you would have had no accomplishment. You had 7 jobs. You've not achieved much. Now, if I ask you this question, what have you accomplished? You accomplished something. You built a podcast, you got an audience, you've done episodes, you met so many interesting people. You have the beginnings of perhaps making a corporation out of this and not just being a one-man show. So you will have something to say. But somebody who's done 7 jobs and has switched, may not. There was this whole controversy, 2 controversies, when Mr. Narayan Murthy said you have to work 70 hours a week. When SNS, the L&T CMD, in an internal meeting, I think half jokingly said work 100 hours a week. There was a massive outrage. And I was asked often on TV shows and podcasts, what is your view? And my view was, that, listen, to really accomplish something, you will have to work hard. And you have to work as hard as it takes. It's, it's not as if you can suddenly say, hey, and you got to understand there's a entitlement mindset and there's an achievement mindset. And you got to decide which is it that you want to chase. But without having an achievement mindset, you will not achieve. That's pretty clear to me. And you got to figure out, look, am I in my job as an apprenticeship for future leadership? Or am I working for a Bihari 9 to 5 days a week? Now, if you're an apprentice for a future leadership role, leadership 9 to 5 नहीं होती है, प्रति घंटा नहीं होती है, piece rate पे नहीं होती है. Leadership means you take ownership and you do what it takes to get the job done and achieve the outcome. You don't count the hours. तो ये आपको डिसाइड करना है कि लाइफ में आप कहाँ जा रहे हो. I'm willing to bet, given what you accomplished, Prakhar, you're probably working very hard at it. You don't count 9 to 5.
No. Yeah.
You will record on Sundays. You will record on holidays.
Right.
You will, record at midnight.
Yeah.
If that's when the interviewee is available.
I'll take 20 flights a month if I have to.
Exactly.
Yes.
Because, you want to accomplish something. You love your job.
Yes.
तो इसलिए आप कुछ करोगे और कुछ अचीव करोगे और किया भी है आपने. So to young people, I'd say, be committed. But be committed to something you really want to do. And figure out what you want to do.
Yes. And you were saying something about, say, for instance, the controversy around how many hours to work and so on. And it would seem that if I had the clarity, for instance, in my case, I have clarity on what I want to build, then nothing comes in the way. I will sacrifice everything to go after this. I'm young, I'm able, I'm all of this. But that clarity is a missing link. Were people clearer or were you clearer in your 20s back in the day?
यार हमारे choices कम थे.
अच्छा, तो clarity obvious थी.
So choices कम थे. Was so I'll tell you in my situation, I had studied economics in college in Delhi University, in St. Stephen's. अब दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी में इकोनॉमिक्स करने के बाद क्या करोगे? Choices क्या हैं? You can do an MA in economics. You can do an MBA. You can write the civil services. To do the MBA, you have to write an entrance exam. There were 4 or 5 or 6 companies that would come to campus for hiring fresh graduates. In those days, fresh graduates, if you're not an engineer, it's very hard to get a job. I was fortunate, I got one of those jobs. And I joined an advertising agency called Lintas. Okay? Straight from college. And I was there for 3 years. But it's not as if I had 20 choices. So I was grateful. I was grateful to get a job that was paying me 1,500 rupees a month. जिसमें से 100 रुपये PF करता था और 20 रुपये महाराष्ट्र प्रोफेशनल टैक्स करता था. So my take home was 1,380. I was grateful. And it's not as if the employers queued up outside to recruit me.
You had to fight.
I was grateful. And I used to work really hard because I wanted to make something of my job and my career. And I didn't have, I couldn't do, hey, let me take a break, 3 months, it's okay, I'll go and join something else. I could not do what I call now after, being in Naukri for so long, what we call snacking on jobs. I could not snack on a job. कि 6 महीने try कर लिया, bore हो गया यार, आगे चलो. Those luxuries did not exist. So the environment has changed. And, people are therefore, can have those choices.
Right.
Also, you see, the people I meet and the people I see, for example, I'm one of the founders of Ashoka University, and I therefore meet young people. Very many are from economic backgrounds where
money is not the constraint.
Where they won't starve if they're out of a job.
Yeah, right.
Right? I knew, my father was a retired government servant. I knew, if I have to make something, I'll have to do it for myself, my career. I can't rely on my parents economically beyond a point. And I think the next generation perhaps has it slightly different.
Is it better or worse to come from money versus not?
So, look, I guess the anxieties and pressures are different. I used to think that, I struggled to succeed in business, which I did. But when I met people, and I made friends with people who were my age, maybe a little younger, but who were from second or third generation business families, they told me, boss, you had it tough, yes, but we also have it tough. I said, how? He said, yeah, you don't know our pressures. I said, what? He said, I go and join the family business. I'm 23, 24 years old. And all the senior people are in their 50s and they're all my father's people.
Yeah.
They treat me like a kid.
Right.
They don't take me seriously. And my father also doesn't take me seriously.
Right.
So I have a different problem. But my anxiety is as much. Sure, I won't starve. I won't starve because there'll be food on the table at home. But I have different problems, but I also have a problem. So it's difficult in a different way. And that's when I realized that, listen, nobody has it easy. हर एक की अलग समस्या होती है.
ठीक.
And mine was different and theirs different, but both had problems.
No, I agree. भूख और शर्म दो अलग problem है. भूख थोड़ी और urgent problem है if you don't have it. And when you do have it, I call it the problem of impotence, because no matter what you do, it doesn't seem like anything happens. So a lot of my friends who are second, third generation, it's literally the same account that I feel like I have no power.
I have to achieve 10x.
Yeah, to make a mark.
Yeah.
So you're competing against the shadow of your father. And that may or may not be very easy, given what your relationship is like. And I wonder, sir, if something... So I do agree. When I meet the ambitious lot of people in my age, हम लोगों का, our interests are, well, success. If you ask somebody on the street, what do you want to do? They want to be successful. Success is this sort of placeholder word. People in my clique, who I meet more often, define it with much more urgency and much more scale. Somebody defines it with much less urgency and much less scale, but it still has urgency and scale. Everybody defines it with money, or they define it with a certain status and so on. How useful is that definition of success, or is there a better definition which you come to see?
See, my view is you won't make an effort unless there's something driving you. And that something can be internal, it can be external, it can be a desire to succeed. Success could mean money, it could mean recognition, it could mean critical acclaim or whatever. For you, in your case, boss, if you are in the top 5 podcasters of India, YouTubers of India, ki, इसको 10 लाख views मिलते हैं, मेरे को 11 लाख मिलते हैं. Right? You might walk tall that day. Okay?
Sure.
You might get an episode with somebody which is a blockbuster success.
Right.
And that goes on to go viral globally.
Right.
Right? That could be success. You'll also make money. But I think beyond the point, whether you make 3 crores a year or you make 5 crores a year is less important to you as opposed to my episodes are really being watched and appreciated. This business mein aap ho, I think recognition and critical acclaim and the ability to peel away the onion and get to the nub of the matter and do interesting interviews and conversations is probably a better measure of success for you beyond a certain amount of money.
Agreed. Yes. So it's a threshold money and then
पैसा आएगा. और पैसा आएगा उसके बाद.
Right.
Right? It's about, which school did you go to?
Here, Delhi Public School, Faridabad.
Faridabad?
Yes.
So you are probably already the most recognized face in your class in school.
In my class, in my school was also Carrie Minati. So that puts things in perspective.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then there are 2 of you.
Yeah, there's 2 of us.
There are 2 of you.
Right.
Right? That's quite remarkable actually to have in your class Carrie Minati and you in one class.
Yeah, there's more than that actually. It's a unique case study. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So all I'm saying is that you're one of the 2 most recognized faces. Now, somewhere that will mean something to you. Somewhere it will mean something to your parents. Sometime you'll be called to your school to give a guest lecture, chief guest or something. Kuch hoga.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And sometime you'll be, I will be interviewing you across the table.
Right.
Bas apni kahani batao. As opposed to you interviewing the same, right? Wo hoga. And then people will look up to you and say, I want to be that guy.
Some kid will be watching saying, right.
Okay, if we can do it, I can do it.
Right. I follow. And so,
so beyond the point, I would say glory and credit and recognition and making an impact means more once you have got your
certain threshold of money.
Yeah.
But that
threshold will be different for different people.
Right. But then I think you did say initially, even if you're motivated by this sense of injury that I should be recognized or I should make, in the sense of...
It's a desire.
It's a desire, right? That is fine. That is what will make you move. It is completely okay to think of it like that. Because there's a very easy argument that a 70-year-old successful person can make and be like, look, life is about smelling the roses and, stopping by the woods and sort of enjoying every day. You say that in your 20s, your 30s, you will be motivated by fire and that's okay. Is that a fair thing?
I think that's fair.
Okay.
But of course, there are some people who, right from the beginning, or very early on, they were motivated by a different kind of fire, perhaps. So, in my class, I went to a school which was academically a very good school. So in my class, out of 45, 10 did PhDs from the US and the UK. Now those guys became profs, right? And their motivation was different. They loved the subject. They want to go deeper into it. And the whole thing was to do research and publish and teach. Okay. Now, for them, it wasn't money. It was, yes, I'm overseas, I'm in the US, I'm in the UK. Life is comfortable. But I actually want to study the subject and research the subject and teach the subject. So, हर एक अलग अलग होता है.
Is there a way in which I can have that clarity? कि मतलब वो time के साथ ही आता है क्या?
See, you have to keep dabbling. You have to keep trying. And you will figure out what works for you. And the truth is, you will only dabble in a few things because you can't dabble in 300 things. Of those 5-6 things, you will figure, boss, this works for me. Now, let's say if I had pursued a conventional career Means
Took a job, moved out.
graduation, MBA, corporate sector. Right? I'm now 61. I'd probably be approaching retirement, if not already retired. Out of a job, maybe in a large organization where I was near the top or at the top, if I was lucky. And now I'll be retiring and saying, what do? I've made some money. I bought a house. I've got savings. Now I'll say, okay, let me take a few independent directorships. That's a fairly predictable path.
Right.
I could have done that. Right? But at the age of 25, 26, it didn't appeal to me that I'll spend the next 30 years of my life doing this. And therefore, I broke out to do something small, very small, no big idea. हम salary survey कर रहे थे. No big idea. And life began like that. I was pottering around. I dabbled in 6-7 things and we stumbled upon Naukri. So it's important to get clarity sooner or later.
Through this act of experimentation.
Which I did, but others did
may
not.
or may not.
Because if you've done your graduation, MBA, corporate sector, and say, boss, मैं 30 साल यहाँ पे हूँ, मैं 30 साल वहाँ पे हूँ.
Right. Or, sir, there has to be, I'll give you my micro perspective on this. When we were in school, there were kids who come top and kids who are follow-up or backbenchers or whatever. And, a school-going kid's understanding is that their destiny is sealed. These toppers will go on to do good things, IITs and so on, and these backbenchers will be whatever. And then 10 years later, I find that some of those backbenchers are running very successful companies and they had a knack for things that was completely unpredictable in that sort of specific environment. I feel like as we grow up also, we may not understand how we predict, how we rate ourselves might be very different from how the world rates you. And if my nature is to do something different, it might have payoffs. Or if my nature is to do the same old compounding every day in the workplace and doing that same job, it has. So like all natures have their service.
See, I'll tell you. The Indian middle class has this great quest for financial security and predictability.
Right.
Parents. For their children, right? And this is I think a post-partition phenomenon. Because, see, my parents were refugees from Sindh. They've been displaced. They've seen a lot of uncertainty. So my father, when he finished his studies, did the safest thing, took up a job in the government. Now I'm set for the next 35 years. There's predictability.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what do government employees, officers, how do they bring up the children? They brought up the children to say and tell them, listen, you have nothing to inherit. We have no wealth. There's no business. If you're going to make it, you're going to make it through your own efforts. And your efforts have to be focused on studies. But if you study hard, you'll get the marks. You'll become good at subjects. Become good at subjects, you clear the entrance exams. You clear the entrance exam, you get an admission to a good place. So if you go to an IIT, a certain kind of minimum future is set. Then you write for the entrance exams, or you go overseas, or you take up a job. So at each stage, your entrance exams and your studies are testing your academic ability. And certain doors are opening. Now these doors lead on to stuff that is predictable. Right?
Right.
कि अगर आपने कॉलेज में अच्छा नंबर ले आए, अच्छे कॉलेज गए, then you have a nice chance of clearing the CAT. CAT clear हो गया तो आपको IIM admission मिल सकती है. IIM admission मिल गई तो these kind of jobs are set. Or if you are totally academically inclined, you get these marks in this college, in this subject, right? GRE, you can get a scholarship to a master's or PhD in the US.
Right.
Life is different. Life is set. So doors would open depending on how well you did academically. Now, you talked about people at the bottom of the class doing well. They did well in life, but probably those doors didn't open.
Right. They had to open different doors.
They joined a business, they joined a company, they became entrepreneurial, they used their jugaad, whatever. But they somehow made it in life. But in that lot of people, a lot depended on their own capabilities of dealing with people, selling, handling situations, building something, persuading a bank manager to give you a loan, right? Being entrepreneurial. The people who went to the IIMs, the IITs, did not need to be entrepreneurial. They need to be good in studies. Good in studies is more in your control than being entrepreneurial.
Interesting perspective.
And therefore, parents would always push children, bhai, padhai kar lo. Because that is more predictable, more in your control. Aapne mehnat ki, marks number aayenge.
Right.
So studying hard and getting good marks is more in your control than being entrepreneurial.
But do all personality types have a future, or are there some personality types that you can reliably say will
I think all personality types have a future. Right? You got to figure out where you fit, and you got to put effort.
Right.
I believe there's an entrepreneur inside everybody. Everybody. Sometimes it gets unleashed, sometimes it doesn't.
How do you define this entrepreneurial side?
Because see, being entrepreneurial is about being creative, about building something. वो तो सब में इच्छा है. I want to create. It's a natural human instinct to want to create.
How really important is money? I want to know if
When you don't have it,
it's oxygen.
it's really important.
Right.
After you begin to get it, and you're smart, you realize, hey, it's nice to have it, but it's not the end. So, I'm from a middle-class family. Dad's a government servant, mom homemaker. We got by, but just about got by. Right? So I got a job. I went to IIM Ahmedabad. I got a job after college, then went to IIM Ahmedabad, then got another job. I mean, I could have continued that path. I would have been financially comfortable. But I wasn't finding meaning in what I was doing. I was still with my colleagues. And I began to think, we used to sit in an open hall, the junior marketing staff in my last company. I was a junior person then. Right? And I say, okay, so if I work hard and well for the next 5 years, I'll be in that cabin. If I work for 15 years, I'll be in that cabin. Work for 25 years, I'll be in that cabin. Right? So I can predict my future. If I'm good, I work hard and I'm lucky. And I realized that, I think that guy is doing better than me because his car is 6 inches longer. And I think, if I'm staying in this neighborhood, in this kind of house, and he's staying in that neighborhood, in a larger house, it's a posher neighborhood, then he's doing, but it's a 1.5 kilometer fasla hai. Right? Then he's doing really well in life. I said, boss, I slog my butt off. And I get a 1.5 foot longer car. And I get, an extra 800 square feet in my apartment in 1.5 kilometers away. I have succeeded. And I said, man, that's not success to me. मुझे कुछ करना है. अब क्या करना है, I don't know. But मुझे ये नहीं करना. And that's when I sort of made up my mind to sort of quit. See, I've had an entrepreneurial ambition since I was 12 years old. We were living in a Chanakyapuri, which is a government colony. And उस समय चाणक्य सिनेमा नया बना था 1970 में. I was 7 years old. Right? That time, nobody had TVs. There were, I think, 2-3 TVs in the whole colony. Watching movies was considered not so good because they would distract you from studies. You had to study and you had to play games. Games also physical fitness and team spirit, all that. But your real mission in life was to study. Okay? So, we were allowed to watch a movie once in 3-4 months. You shouldn't watch movies. Movies are not good influence. Very different from today. Okay, no TV. No mobile phones, obviously. In fact, very few houses had phones even. So, once in 3-4 months, my friends and I would walk across Chanakya Cinema. and buy a ticket and watch a movie. So, in 5-6 years in that colony, I must have watched 30-40 movies, maybe 25 movies, right? When I was, I think, roughly 10 years old, maybe 9 years old, I went there and I saw a Rajesh Khanna movie for the first time, Hathi Mere Sathi. Now, Hathi, animals, zoo, very interesting. Okay, and I came back completely starry-eyed, मैं film star बनूंगा.
Right.
It took me 6 months to realize that's an impossible dream. And I moved on to the next dream. Right? So I used to, like all kids, I would daydream a lot. Best daydreaming time was in the school bus coming back home and staring out of the window daydreaming.
Right.
Right? So around that time, in 1973, the first cricket test match was telecast live in Delhi from Firozshah Kotla. It was India versus the MCC, which is England actually. And the 2-star Indian batsmen were Gundappa Vishwanath and Sunil Gavaskar. And I watched this for 5 days in a friend's house. We didn't have TV. 10 hours to get together in a friend's house, we had a TV. And for 5 days we sat there, winter holidays mein, and we watched this test match. In those days, only local telecast. You could not see test matches which were being telecast in other parts of the country.
Okay.
Because there was no satellite.
Theek.
It was all local, Doordarshan Kendra. So we watched this. And I said, yaar, main
Cricketer banunga.
Sunil Gavaskar banunga. So I was ambitious. There was no lack of ambition.
Right.
But another 6 months and that's an impossible dream. I cannot play cricket. I mean, I like cricket, but I'm not that good.
Right.
Also, it was impractical. Also, you see, it was far away from what your parents were coaching you and your teachers were coaching you. Ki boss, career has to be study hard, good college, good job. Not careers like cricket and films.
Right.
So it was an impossible dream. I gave it up. However, around 1975 or 76, 2-3 new magazines were launched in India. Okay. One was India Today. One was Business India. And there was a third one. And I forget the third one. But ye do thi. Right? And they began to come into the house. Because my brother would buy, my brother is 7 years older, somebody would buy. And I began to leaf through these magazines. And I remember there was a long form story, maybe cover story in one of these magazines on J.R.D. Tata. And I remember reading it. And that's the first time I said to myself, I will at some point in time start my own company. I was about 12 years old, maybe 13 years old. तो वो मेरे दिमाग में पहली बार आया कि I will start a company. Now in those days you didn't use the word entrepreneur. So मैं business चालू करूँगा. And I began to say it to myself. Now this dream didn't go away. I articulated it to a third person, to somebody else for the first time when I was in class 11. Or was it class 12? A friend of mine, still a friend, we're sitting next to each other in class, and he said, so what do you want to do after school? And I said, yeah, I don't know what I want to do after school, I'm open, but I know what I want to do in life.
What I don't want to do.
What I want to do in life.
What I want to do in life.
What do you want to do in life? So I said, at some point in time, I'll start a company. Ye class 11 ki baat hai. I asked him, what will you do in life? Now, he was the most brilliant boy in class. Right? And he said, I want to become a doctor. I want to go to AIMS. He went to AIMS. He cleared the exam, very hard exam. But became a doctor. Now he's an accomplished doctor. Vikram Singh Kanwar.
Right.
I was a decent student, but in my life, I've never come first. So my brother, who was 7 years older than me, and he went to the same school, he always came first in class. And we went through the same teachers, 7 years older than me, and they would always
narrow down on you
in class.
Yeah.
Your brother was so good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Common phenomena keeps repeating.
Okay. But, so I actually was bright enough as it turned out. But I never worked hard enough at my studies. I was not interested enough. मुझे याद है, now my father had my brother had come first. I know in class 4, I finished, I think 24th or 32nd in a class of 45, I finished 32nd. The report card आया, the ranks होते हैं उसमें. My father was really upset. And I wasn't so bothered. So he was more upset that I wasn't bothered. Now my father now I'm the youngest in the family. My sister's 9 years older, my brother's 7 years older. So when they were younger, there were no comic books, no movies allowed. Even comics you couldn't get to home. Now I had been allowed comic books. Okay, so according to my brother and my sister, I was really spoiled and pampered. Isko comic books allowed, हमको allowed नहीं थे. What is going on?
Right.
So my father confiscated my comic books and made a bonfire of them in the back lawn and said, no more comic books, you're studying hard. So in class 5, I studied hard and I came in the first 5 in class. So from 32nd, I came 5th. Right? So at the end of it, I had proved to myself that the issue is not intelligence, the issue is effort. And then I relaxed a bit.
That if I make the effort, I'll get there.
If I make the effort, so जब भी exam important है, मैं effort कर लूँगा. ठीक है? ठीक हो जाएगा. So now my brother, I went to a school where all good boys did science,
right,
or most good boys did science. A few did commerce, but most good boys did science. And either IIT or medicine. So in my batch, we put 52 into IIT. I mean, 52 cleared the exam. And I was also trying for IIT because my brother had gone. Parents didn't say it, but they were expecting me to do something good. Teachers, friends, peers, seniors, juniors, IIT was holy grail. Chase it. So मैंने भी पढ़ाई की. Now, as luck would have it, I cleared the exam. But in the medical test of the IIT, I turned out to be colorblind.
Oh, really?
Partially.
Okay.
So,
what, the red green?
No, red green. I mean, if you can't make red green, then you're dead. Okay. This is color blindness has got grades.
Right.
So color blindness does not mean you can't make out any color.
Yeah,
it means there are certain colors between which you cannot distinguish.
Right.
And they give you this, charts with these dots.
Right.
And there's a number, then you trace the number. So in some of the charts, I could not trace the number. So in some shades of mauve and very light brown, kuch panga tha. So now the IIT guy said, son, you can join, it's okay. But some careers will be close to you and some
you're probably not a fighter pilot after that.
That's right. You might shoot the wrong guys,
Right, yeah. The colors you can differentiate.
The light green, light brown,
green wale uda diye.
Okay. So, stuff like that. But yeah, traffic lights I can make out,
Yeah.
Okay. So, but you can join, it's okay. But now, you see, हुआ क्या था कि there was a 3-year window, 1978, 1979, 1980, where the country was shifting from class 11 to class 12. So class 12 का जो आपका school leaving exam है ना, was not always there. Before 1978, school was till class 11 only.
Achha.
All over India.
Wow. Why did they add one more?
They added one more because to come to international standards.
Achha, okay.
Okay. Because America, UK में सब class 12 थे.
ठीक.
इंडिया में class 11 था. तो now different states are given a choice that you have to switch, you have to add class 12 to your schools before 1980 and 78 onwards, any one of these 3 years.
Right.
So different states were shifting in different years to class 12 in those 3 years.
Right.
Now the IIT guys were in a dilemma. Ki boss, if we say class 12 is mandatory, then there are states which are only till class 11.
Right.
Unke bachon kya hoga?
Right.
They can't get into IIT. If we say school leaving is mandatory, then some will get after class 12, some after class 12. The class 12 got that disadvantage. Extra lag gaya. So they said ki you can get in after class 11 whether or not you have the school leaving certificate. आपने बोर्ड एग्जाम किया नहीं है, doesn't matter. आपने class 11 किया है. That's good enough for us.
ठीक.
Now, 1980 was the last year in which you could get in after class 11 because the whole country in 1981 was switching to class 12. So I had got in after class 11, 1980. And I got this thing, you're colorblind. So then I got scared. The first time in my life, it was the first time in life I had an existential crisis. What is the meaning of life?
Right.
Because my meaning of life was go to IIT.
Yeah, right.
So now my dilemma was what? My dilemma was that if I go into IIT after class 11, I will not have a school leaving certificate. Board exam certificate नहीं होगा मेरे पास. मान लो कुछ पंगा हो गया after 2 years, I have to drop out of IIT. Then I have to go back to school, write the class 12 board exam again, and then go to some other college. I said, that's too much. बहुत risk है. Now, what was happening was that from next year, 81, when I finished class 12, IIT was becoming you could not write it after class 11 anymore. Only after class 12.
Right.
So my junior batch couldn't write it. All the good guys from my batch had gone after class 11. And IIT was becoming a 4-year course from a 5-year course. IIT was a 5-year course before that.
Okay.
So 4 साल का होना. So the graduation year was going to be the same, whether I went after class 11 or after class 12. I said, I'll get the class 12 certificate. There's no competition.
Right.
I'll get in again. I'll go. Right? And that's what happened. I didn't go to IIT, but I got in the second time. Okay. Because there was no competition.
Right.
So I didn't put too much effort also, I still got in. Because koi tha nahi. Right? But in that 1 year in class 12, I sat and thought. Because see, for the first time, I thought, what do I want to do in life?
Right.
Before that, it was IIT. Don't think. Right? So, and I said to myself, why do I want to be an engineer? And I came to the conclusion, I don't really want to be an engineer. I don't know what an engineer does. I just want to be an IITian.
Right.
मैं club join कर रहा हूँ. I want a brand. I'm running a tribe.
Right.
And I want a secure future.
I don't care for the work per se.
I want to be an IITian. So anyways, I got to IIT second time. I also got to St. Stephen's. I said, यार ये भी brand है, ये भी club है, ये भी tribe है. ये 3 साल का है, वो 4 साल का है. I went to Stephen's.
Right.
Okay. So, when you're young, you often take stupid decisions.
Right.
For the wrong reason. Right? In hindsight, अब तो ठीक हो गया, but people really were amazed. How stupid are you? You're going to DU instead of IIT.
Right.
When you have a choice.
Right.
I said, नहीं, मैं यही करूँगा.
My feel is also that this youthful stupidity, this youthful chip on your shoulder, या एक level of होता है ना कि मैं करके दिखाऊंगा. I think it's very helpful because all of entrepreneurship is taking something that is largely not done or impossible and making it possible. Right? It's an alchemic process.
That is true in hindsight.
Right.
And that is true from a distance.
Right.
जब आप खुद कर रहे होते हैं ना,
तो बिल्कुल डर लग रहा होता है. हाँ. वो मैं, in fact, my question was this. Naukri.com is, you said, the 8th or the 9th thing you built in a series of things that did not scale.
No, let me put it this way.
Yeah.
I was not chasing scale,
right.
And those ideas are not scalable.
Right.
I was chasing कि यार मेरे को तनख्वाह मिल जाए.
बस.
हाँ. See, my whole thing, when I quit my job in 1990, my whole thing was independence, creativity, and survival.
ये manage हो जाए. Right.
कि एक तनख्वाह मिल जाए, I'm okay यार. मेरे को बहुत पैसे नहीं बनाने थे. मेरे को कुछ अलग करना था. And so with those small businesses, we were breaking even. I often couldn't take a salary. And I would teach on weekends at business schools to earn 2,500-3,000 rupees a month. थोड़ा subsistence salary मिल जाए मेरे को.
पर वो uncertainty में जो डर भी लगता है, and all of what uncertainty brings, is there something you tell young people on what to think of when they are going through uncertain times?
See, my jugaad was what? My jugaad was, I had an IIM Ahmedabad qualification. Right?
ठीक.
So I would get a visiting faculty job. My जुगाड़ was अगर सब कुछ fail हो जाए, I'll go back to and मुझे नौकरी मिल जाएगी because I have the qualification. Although in those days, entrepreneurial experience was not valued. So if you were working for a multinational corporation and you quit and became an entrepreneur and want to come back after 5 years,
They're treated as null.
Your career is over.
Acha.
You were condemned to a glass ceiling of middle management. Or you go and join an Indian company, or you go to Africa and Middle East and try and make a career there.
Acha. मतलब MNC से you are cut out.
MNC में boss, it's over.
Acha.
Now so there were one or two guys in my company who had done that, and I could see that they would never go beyond middle management.
Now that they've come back.
No. Because, see, आज लोग बोलते हैं ना, he's got entrepreneurial experience, that's great. That he is a failed entrepreneur. A failure.
Interesting.
तो वो फर्क था 30-35 साल पहले.
तो मतलब वो nail in the coffin था एक level पे.
There was
Destiny.
There was no coming back unless you compromise and say, I'm okay with middle management.
So, sir, even getting into it at that point is scary. Ki when I'm switching away
You
from...
have to want it enough.
You have to want it enough. And that I think is a key skill for almost anything. Like you have to want it enough.
So I had this key in my head कि मैं company चालू करूँगा, like I told you, since I was 12 years old. But I never had the guts. Because government family, I wanted a salary check. I was married to a salary check. Okay, and I would keep saying, I'll quit, but I didn't have the courage to quit.
Right. Very difficult to do that also. Yeah.
Right? मैं आपको एक इंसिडेंट बताता हूँ.
हाँ.
So, the company I was working, H&M, it made Horlicks. It also made Boost, Bricream, Eno, a few other brands. But Horlicks was 88% of the company's turnover and 140% of the company's profit.
Acha.
It was the key thing, and I was working on Horlicks. Right? So, but I was the product executive, I think was my title. And, but de facto, it was the CMD who would take any decisions that were important. Because it was so important to the company, Horlicks. 140% of the company profits, 88% of the company turnover, Horlicks. Now, the company would run by committee. So, on the first of the month, there would be a manufacturing committee meeting. Second, there would be a sales committee. Third, there would be a purchase committee. Fourth, there would be a marketing. Fifth, there would be a management committee meeting. Finance committee. Now, the people who attended these committee meetings were all the same, with some additional managers from that function. जिसकी committee हो रही थी. तो marketing committee में the middle manager of marketing also go. So before I had joined, in one of those committee meetings, marketing committee meetings, somebody had said, "Sir, ये Horlicks की बोतल है, एक glass बोतल है, इस पे एक blue label है, blue label का red border है. तो सर अगर between red border and blue label, body of label, if somebody put a thin gold line, see, gold is valued in India. It will create a value perception. Image बढ़ेगी, Horlicks ज़्यादा बिकेगा. Now, any fool will tell you it won't make a difference, but आपको करना है कर लो.
हाँ ठीक है, कोई ज़्यादा खर्चा तो नहीं है उसमें. हाँ.
करना कर दो. But because it's so important, it was decided that we will do a test market. Test market. We do in Tamil Nadu. Why Tamil Nadu? Because it's the most important market for Horlicks. 26% से Tamil Nadu में होती थी.
अच्छा.
But we not just the most important city, Madras. We do it in the second most important city, Madurai.
Okay.
So new labels were printed. I know Madurai market में they got released. And then people forgot about it. And then meanwhile, I joined the company. और एक साल हो गया. And suddenly the CMD remembered in a meeting. Hey, what happened to that test market? And even I didn't know about the test market.
ठीक.
Okay, I joined the company. So I was hauled up. I said, what happened to test market? I said, what test market? I don't know test market, this, that, what. You go to Madras today. So I said, yeah, I've got this chocolate Horlicks launch coming up. There's so much work. I can't go. I'll do it after. अभी 12 महीने हो गए तो 13 महीने होने दो. No, you go today. So I booked a ticket. I went home at lunchtime and packed my bag and went to the airport. Landed in Madras at night. I went from the airport to the bus station, got the overnight state transport bus to Madurai, non-AC. It was October. It was really humid in Madras. I was sweating, lot of
Right.
dust, right?
Uh,
Yeah, that is the old label of Horlicks. That's the new bottle. This is the old label.
right.
Okay, you can see the gold line there between
Yeah.
red and blue.
Yeah.
Huh?
So you were saying, फिर
Huh?
फिर आप पहुंचे.
मैं पहुंचा and the local salesperson met me, and I was carrying this old label, new label, pasted on board 2 boards, and I said, "Dekho, that's new label, this is old label." Now he doesn't speak Hindi, he doesn't know English. I don't speak Tamil. I'm speaking in English to the local sales guy. He's translating, and I'm going from shop to shop, and I'm asking, "What do you think of the difference?" He says, "What's the difference? There's no difference." Yeah. Okay. The shopkeeper is saying there's no difference. He's laughing at me. Why have you come from Delhi all the way just to ask this question?
Right.
After 20 such interactions, 2 घंटे हो गए, I said, I'm done for the day. Thank you so much. My mother had said, if you go to Madurai, please go to the temple. Okay, so I went to temple, did parikrama, got the prasad, all that. I came, caught the train to Madras, and I got the flight to Delhi. And I came back and I reported saying, "Boss, test market widely successful. Please release label nationally." No, it didn't make a difference, but But I was thinking to myself, yeah, I went to IIM Ahmedabad to do this job. I said, man, this makes no sense. And that's when I said, up to jana padega. I can't stay here.
You'd had enough. It's a clown work जो मैंने भी किया है.
I mean, it has no meaning here.
Right.
So I think it's important that you find meaning in what you do.
It's very interesting. How does one think of meaning?
You've got to find purpose here. There's a purpose. There is, for me, entrepreneurship has a purpose. For me, नौकरी बस मैं कुछ बना रहा हूँ.
अच्छा, okay. So you wanted to create something. Yeah. That's purpose, huh?
Naukri has a purpose. Because we can help millions of people find jobs. We can help lakhs of companies find people.
Right.
We can build something which will actually help people.
Right.
We also make money. I found purpose. So you have found purpose in what you do by doing a podcast. You're getting something out of it that's beyond money.
Right.
And that's why you're doing it.
Right. It's that sort of shiny wrapper.
Yeah. So, you got to find meaning in what you do. That's important. But that's what keeps you going beyond money.
मेरे को लगता है, in the way you were saying, you might actually be right, because I could make money selling land. I have the kind of access where in this city I could sell land, and flipping land is a lot of money as compared to building a media brand. You start in a few thousand.
No, you can make much more money than you're making right now if you are actually a good property dealer.
Yeah, right. And
you had money to invest also.
Yeah, and if I had capital. But there is something about this profession. There is something about talking to a million people. Something about, I'll give you an example. Last year, one of the key things I would include in all my conversations was the question, how is your relationship with your family? And it got to a point where I started receiving feedback from the ether, from the environment, that people want to do good things by their family. Because I'd asked that question so many times to people that were sitting across from me, and they were saying all these reflective things about how they want their relationship with their family to be. The audience started getting impacted, and that's, even if that's 10 million people who at once over the last 1 year thought about, maybe I should not fight with my father so much. It's a lot of very positive impact that I'm very glad I could do something about. And so, yeah, there is a purpose in that you can, like this.
See, you are having meaningful conversations with interesting people.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right? I think that somebody will derive something from that.
Yes. It's also because as a consumer, it doesn't even have to be it for me to think it. It would be bit, and I would make it out of bit. Like there's an inference process that constantly happens when you overhear. But I still think, with all ambitious people I meet, with all people my age, my friends and so on, money is still like a big concern through your 20s and your 30s. No matter whether you come from money also, because you still want to make your mark, and money is sort of this measuring tool. And one of my favorite questions to ask, which I wouldn't know how I'd answer myself, but if a friend of mine is like, bro, I want to make money, this, that, I'd be like, how much is enough? When will you feel like you have money? Right? And so I have a question, which is, do you remember a point in your life where you were like, psychologically, you're like, money is now handled, like now I can think about other stuff? Is there a point where you start feeling wealthy? Yeah.
there was a point when I stopped bothering about money. I was not wealthy, but I stopped bothering about it.
Okay.
See, when I quit my job, I was really tense because I never not earned a salary.
Right.
Ever since I began to work. I had no reserves. मैं कहानी सुनाता हूँ. So when I was quitting my job, I had a total of 66,000 rupees in my bank. That is roughly equal to 1 year's take home for me. So I said to myself that, okay, I've got 1 year's money. If I stretch it, I can make it last 2 years.
Okay. If I live thinly, yes.
So, but I was still feeling troubled and afraid. So I had never done anything in the stock market. A friend of mine came and told me, listen, boss, there's this company, Bindal Agro. Uska bonus issue aane wala hai. Right? Why don't you buy the shares? You'll double your money. Now, in those days, there was no, there was some 17, 20 stock exchanges, manual trading, on the stock exchange floor, outcry. There was no research, equity research, nothing. And you bought or sold shares depending on
Tips.
your friends' advice.
Yeah, whatever friends say, right. Yeah.
So I went to a friend whose father was a sub-broker in the Delhi Stock Exchange. And I said, Uncle, सुना है Bindal Agro का bonus आने वाला है? So I want to put, I said I'll save 6,000 rupees. मैं 60,000 डालता हूँ. I want to put 60,000 rupees in Bindal Agro. He said, son, बेटा अगर bonus आने वाला, why don't you buy on forward, बदला, margin. So that way you won't double your money, you'll make 5 times or 10 times your money. Sounds very good, yeah. Now I learned the hard way 2 things. Number one, if you're buying on a rumor, number one, the rumor had better be right.
Right.
Number 2, you should buy early in the rumor.
Right. Not when it gets to you later. Yes, right.
Okay. Now 2 things had happened. Two things happened. Number one, I was buying at the tail end of the rumor. The price had already doubled.
Yes.
Because Janta had known about it earlier, about 3 weeks earlier. Number 2, the rumor was wrong. The rumor did not happen. So share price did not double, it halved. So after 1 week, my friend's father called me, "Beta, now we are square." So I moved down from 66,000 rupees to 6,000 rupees in the space of 2 weeks.
So you lost the entire sum.
Yeah. And I still quit my job. And we still started the company. And because I wasn't going to stop then. Right? And I said my reserves are gone. So I have to live by my wits now. So now what happened was that in my last company where I worked, HMM, where I was working on Horlicks,
Right.
मेरा एक colleague था who wanted to go abroad for a PhD in management in the US. So in order to strengthen his application, he had begun to teach as a visiting faculty at IMT Ghaziabad.
Achha.
And he got that visiting faculty position. He was teaching consumer behavior. Okay? He got that course to teach because his former prof from IIM Calcutta had become the director of IMT Ghaziabad. So I went to him and I said, boss, okay, so I said, my savings are gone. I need 2,500 every month. So I want to start teaching at IMT Ghaziabad. Can you get me a role? Visiting faculty position. Sure, come. So I made my resume and I went to IMT Ghaziabad with him. And he took me to the director. I had asked him, which is the course that was taught the worst last year? So he said marketing in service industries.
And that's something you were doing?
No, I was not doing. You see, what I mean to say is that IMT Ghaziabad was the only business school in the country teaching that course at that time. There was no literature, no book, nothing. I had never studied a course. I knew a little bit about it from general knowledge, but I did not. To teach a whole course, is a different thing. Was. So I said, but why was it? Confidence was you right on the front foot. I'll do anything. Okay. I said, why was it so badly taught? He says, because the visiting faculty who was teaching it last year got transferred to Bombay halfway through. So the course is completed. And so the students are left in the lurch. So they don't have faculty. So if you say you can do it, you have a good chance of getting it. So I went to IMT Ghaziabad with a guy and I said, sir, I will teach marketing service industries. And the guy says, director, but this is 1990. You were only 89 batch. But sir, I have 3 years experience prior in that. Okay, that's a total of 5 years experience. Is that enough? I don't know. Then he said, did Professor Mote teach you at IIM Ahmedabad? Professor Mote was a legendary prof at IIM Ahmedabad. So he had retired 2 months after I joined IIMA. So I said, sir, he had retired, but I took, he taught us he took 2 lectures. Mote taught you 2 lectures. Okay, let me think. Now, Mote, see, if you are a student of Mote, you must be good. He knows that. That he had that kind of reputation. So, acha, my brother also IIM Ahmedabad, but 1980 batch. So I said, sir, what he taught my brother? Acha, Mote taught your brother? I said, yeah. What is your brother doing? I said, he's a prof at UCLA in the business school. Oh, your brother is a prof in the business school, na? And Mote taught him. Okay, you join. It was as crazy as that.
He was looking for a reason to say yes also in that moment. Yeah. Okay. He's like, how do I make this connection happen? Right. Yeah.
And I got this assignment to teach. Now, I worked really hard at that course. I got material. I went to IMA library. I got my brother to send me material from the US. I worked really hard on the course. And the feedback I got was really good. Student feedback. So then I was set. I was teaching a course at IMT Ghaziabad every term for the next 6 years. In addition, I got other assignments on the basis of that. So I was able to somehow get a teaching assignment.
Right. And that kept you afloat.
Right. Now, so I was really mortally afraid of running out of money because I was down to 66 to 6,000.
Yeah.
I got this little gig. But still, there's no certainty here. It's a visiting faculty. You're being paid by the hour, 275 rupees an hour I was getting paid. So if I took 4 hours a weekend, then उस weekend में 1100 बनते.
नहीं गए तो नहीं बने.
नहीं, course ले रहे तो जाओगे.
हाँ, right.
But there's no guarantee you'll get a course next term.
Right, okay.
Right?
ठीक.
If students don't like a course, you get bad feedback, you're out.
Right.
Right, all of that. But so initially, I was really afraid. From 1990 to 92, I was really afraid. By 92, I had begun to love the independence. Right? And so this uncertainty mattered a lot less. Plus, I was now regarded as good in teaching. So I knew मेरे को courses मिल जाएंगे. Right? In 94, something happened. I got a call from somebody who'd been a year junior to me at IIMA, and he was working as marketing manager in a company in Delhi. He said, do you do market research? I said, हम कुछ भी कर लेंगे. Great, I have a market research assignment. Come and see me. I went to see him. He gave me a brief. We prepared a proposal, and I sent it to him, 30,000 रुपए का research होगा ये, cost. Called me for a meeting. He said, boss, ऐसा करो, you make this 50,000 रुपए, जो difference है ना, 20,000 का, that you give me as cash. I was like stunned. This guy asked me for a kickback. And I said, I'll come back to you. मैं 2 दिन बहुत सोचा. And I came to the conclusion that मेरे को kickback नहीं देना. We've done a clean, honest business. I was stunned. We were running a clean, honest business, paying our taxes, everything. For the first time, I got an offer. And I got back to him saying, sorry, boss, we're not interested. We don't want the assignment. And from that day onwards, I decided, money doesn't matter.
Really?
I'll just do good work. As long as I'm surviving, it's okay.
Wow. That's a very powerful story.
It was, it was a moment of truth for me.
Yeah. You're talking to your inner self in that moment. What road am
Those
I going
2-3
to choose?
days out.
Yeah. Wow.
And the moment I stopped worrying about money, the stress went away. The moment I said money doesn't matter, it was like a switch flipping in my head.
Did more money follow because the switch went off?
I wouldn't say that. देखो, this was 94, we not नौकरी 97,
Right.
तीन साल लग गए. And पहले 3 साल में भी नौकरी के पैसे नहीं बने. It's not I could take a salary. So I could take a salary only after 6 years of that incident. But the stress went away. I was no longer bothered कि पैसे नहीं बन रहे.
Got it.
Of course, you got to understand, उस ज़माने में किसी के पास मोबाइल फ़ोन नहीं होते थे.
ठीक बात.
इंटरनेट ईमेल नहीं था.
Right.
So all your batchmates had gone to different places, many overseas, they said,
Right.
and you were not in touch with them.
Right.
My IIM batchmates. And, there's a lot of comparison.
Right.
That comparison was not happening. So it
Because
did,
you were all tuned out of that. There's no way to access where they are. Right.
because the comparison was not happening, I was not tense.
That's very interesting.
So we compare, we get tense. We desire money. It doesn't come, we get tense.
Yeah.
And I had just cut back and tightened my belt, and I was living in my means. Jo mil gaya. I was making 4,000 rupees a month as visiting faculty. I would live in that here.
What have you found? I mean, if I were to ask you about yourself, I'm sure you'll have this answer about there's a little bit of luck involved and all that, but you are also an investor. You spot winners. That's part of your...
We also spot losers. ऐसी बात नहीं है.
Right, sure. So like you're able to put them oil in the water separate from each other. And I'm trying to understand what are winner traits. So what do you think is the formula for success if there is one?
Yeah, first of all, entrepreneurs who succeed are insanely hardworking.
Got it.
2 is they know their customer really well. 3 is they're good at sales. They can make revenue happen. 4, if required, they'll go without a salary for years. They're willing to make personal sacrifices.
And so it would be hard.
5 is they're good with people. They can build a team, attract a team, motivate a team. People want to work with them. 6 is when required, they're really humble. I'll tell you, we raised venture capital, and we were, I think 2000 या 2001 की बात है. So one of our salespersons had said, "Sir, I have fixed an appointment with the recruitment head, the HR, the recruitment manager of this big multinational consumer products company, very prestigious, in Gurgaon. We are in Noida. So will you come with me to a sales call?" I said, "Yeah, I'll come with you." तो हम दोपहर को निकले, नोएडा से गुड़गांव 1.5 घंटा लगा, ट्रैफिक वैक. Okay, and we went. We turned up there, and the guy had left for home. He was not there. So my sales guy was really embarrassed because he's taken me there, and this guy is not there. So he rang him up. He says, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Meet my colleague." He spoke, and this is the other guy. There were 2 HR managers, recruitment managers. Other guy said, "Boss, मेरा time नहीं है." You wait. Eventually, we kept delegate down, and I made a sales pitch to a summer trainee. Standing up, in a storeroom. He didn't have a cabin of his own. So, as a face saver, they gave my sales guy, because he said, "Boss, I brought my boss, how can you do this?" Okay, and they put us. So, I've done that, yaar. You got to be humble.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Right.
He was very embarrassed. I said, "Don't worry, yaar. It's okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. We all, it's not your fault."
Yeah, no, completely. I
Okay,
think
so
head down.
you got to be humble.
Yeah. Yeah, work comes above
So,
everything.
ये 7-8 traits हैं, yaar.
Acha. And why do you think you got successful? Because of these traits or something else?
We persisted, yeah.
Be persistent.
We persisted, and we didn't give up, and we knew our customer.
You knew your customer. And if I were to think about knowing the customer, it's kind of like knowing your craft for artists, and it's kind of like there's a know your something for everyone.
Know your product, know your customer.
Right.
So, I was on a panel discussion maybe a decade or so ago. The audience was a bunch of young people. I think many were college students. So, sitting next to me was a gentleman called Sanjeev Bikhchandani, who's the founder of Daksh Helion Ventures, senior entrepreneur. And we were asked a question. I said, "So, what is the first job I should do after college if I want to be an entrepreneur?" And Sanjeev Agarwal gave a very thoughtful answer. He said, in my view, you should do a job where either you're selling something or making something.
Building or selling. Nothing in the middle.
ये consulting, investment banking, नहीं. या आप बेच रहे हो
या आप बना रहे हो. वही दो फाउंडेशन है कंपनी चलाने
कोर वो है.
हाँ कोर वही है. और अगर उस पे इनमें से एक पे भी कॉन्फिडेंस है, then the other one you'll acquire,
or your co-founder will have it.
Yeah, or your co-founder will have it, or you'll build a team for that effect, or something or the other. Right. I understand. Is there a little bit of luck involved in?
A lot of luck.
Right, because I feel like अपने केस में देखता हूँ सर मैं, if I did not enter the market last year, I'd not like, if 1 year down the line, it won't be the same time. गाड़ी निकल चुकी होगी, the cat will be out of the bag, the train would have left the station.
So luck matters. But you know, I was giving a talk to the senior management of, a few years ago, senior management of KFC in Delhi. The CEO was my classmate from college. He invited me. So I was asked a question, is luck important? I said, luck is very important. So I have got lucky. So then my friend interjected, Dhiren Chaudhary, and he said, let's discuss the luck thing. Right? Luck is about being at the right place at the right time. Everybody said yes. But here's this. If you are in enough places, enough times, for a long enough time, sooner or later, you'll be at the right place at the right time.
Right. It's exposure.
It's about keeping on trying.
Yeah, right. Increase the denominator and something will hit. One numerator will come up. Right.
So you got to keep trying. So it took me 7 years to stumble upon Naukri.
Was there something that success or money, like there is a post-money and a pre-money. There's a post-money Sanjeev and a pre-money Sanjeev also, right? There's a post-money Prakhar and a pre-money Prakhar also. And there's a post-money, it's, somebody asked me in a conversation, I think you've spoken with Ishan Sharma, have you spoken with him? Yeah, right. Ishan asked me about Prakhar, people say looks and money don't matter. I said, but you realize it after you have a good-looking situation or money going for you. After, for sure, you realize it, but before, you think there is something to it. And so a lot of young people move towards success and money.
You always value what you don't have.
Yes, right. But is there something that success does not come with or money does not come with that you didn't anticipate, and now you can tell your kids that, listen, this you will not find with money, go look for it somewhere else?
So, see, I don't know related or not, but एक चीज I have learned is successful businesses are built on deep customer insight.
Got it.
Often, right? Now, when I was in my last job in HMM, 8990 की बात है, I was saying, मैं quit करना है, I want to do a business. Now, when you're in that phase and you've got some imagination, you get everywhere you look, you see a business idea. You get 3 business ideas a day. Yeah, right. Right? When you get the idea first, it all looks very good. Each idea looks good. 3 दिन बाद you say, yeah, that will not work, that will not work. You know, then when you start discarding ideas. So we used to sit in an open hall. हम 6-8 लोग थे, junior marketing executives. Because it was an open hall, I could see what others were doing and I could hear what they were saying on the phone.
Right.
And I noticed something which I thought was very peculiar. I noticed that when the office copy of the Business India magazine would come, Business India is a fortnightly business magazine.
Sure.
When the office copy would come and go from desk to desk, everybody would read it from the back. Because in those days, there were 35 to 40 pages of appointment ads in the back of Business India.
Huh.
It was the #1 appointment ad medium for managers in India.
Huh.
And they would go through it. They would not even read the article sometimes, just pass it on. And they would say, boss, there's a job going here, a job going there. They would keep talking about the jobs to each other. But these are in a good company, not looking for a job. So if you want FMCG, you want MNC, you want marketing, not sales, which means head office, not branch, and you want Delhi. Then there were only 2 companies, Nestle and HMM in 1989-90.
Right.
Okay. and they would not hire from each other.
Interesting.
So you were already in the best job you could be in.
Right.
The company paid well and they had good brands. Yet they would discuss. So I found this to be very, very strange behavior. And I realized that jobs are a high interest category of information. That's insight number one. The other thing that used to happen was that every week, because there were 7, 8, 10 MBAs from the IIMs in one place, FMCG, MNC, marketing experience, it's a good talent pool to headhunt from. Every week, 2 or 3 different headhunters would call up and try and headhunt one or the other of my colleagues. And I could hear the conversation. And I realized that every time it's a different headhunter, a different job in a different company, and these jobs are not advertised. So next insight was that there's a large market out there, tens of thousands of companies, hundreds of headhunters, trying to fill jobs that are not advertised. So what appears in print is the tip of the iceberg. There's a much larger market below the surface.
Right.
So ये 2 insight आ गए थे मेरे को. I didn't know what to do with the insight. It was a file and forget kind of insight. Quit my job, began to salary surveys. 3 years later, the Department of Telecom announced something called a video text service, video TEX service. This is all pre-internet. Huh? Now, the concept was that they were collaborating with France Telecom, and who had done this successfully in Paris, that there'd be one server in one telephone exchange. And there would be 50 public access terminals all over Delhi. There would be databases and information on the server, and the public would pay a fee to access those databases. And the DOT had advertised for PIPs, private information providers. I think बड़ी सी ad थी, I think TOIHT में कहीं पर बड़ी सी ad थी. And so I looked at it and I said, why don't we do jobs? We'll take job ads from around the country, put them in one place, and charge 100 rupees for public to access. And the commercial deal was that they wouldn't charge us rent for the server, and they won't pay us a fee for maintaining database, but the public would pay, and there'd be a revenue share 50-50.
Sure.
तो हमने कहा ठीक है 100 रुपये चार्ज कर देंगे, 50 रुपये आपके 50 हमारे, और ये जॉब्स करेंगे. Submitted a proposal. We got shortlisted. We were called. Went for a meeting. Start work. तो 4-6 महीने चालू किया काम. After 6 months, they called us again. They said, sorry, boss, the
model collapsed.
No, this is pre-launch. It's not launched yet.
Right.
Ki budget cancelled, so project's not happening.
Okay.
But we had got the whole concept ready.
Right.
And we called it JobNet that time.
Right.
It's called JobNet. 3 साल बाद, I saw the internet for the first time. And I said, it was at Pragati Maidan. There was a exhibition called IT Asia, organized by CII. And I saw a small stall which said www.
Really?
And I went and I said, what is this? And he gave me said, ye email hai. Now, I had vaguely heard of email. I didn't know what it was. Never seen it.
This is
96 October.
96.
So I said, email. So he said, I'll give you a demo, sir. So he had a computer. He had a modem, this dial-up modem.
Yeah.
I was seeing it for the first time, that modem.
Right.
So he dialed and it did a ching-ching noise and that lights flashed. I said, what the hell is this? Sir, ये modem है. Telephone line लगी है. मैं telephone line कर रहा हूँ. Sir, and he opened it was basically a reseller of VSNL accounts, email accounts and internet access. And he got into the mail client and he says, sir, I am sending an email. So he sent an email. And he says, sir, now that other computer, next, this could be in America. And आपने वहाँ अमेरिका को email भेज दिया है. And it's so much cheaper than fax. ये तो कुछ पैसे लगे आपको. In a few पैसे you done it. Fax का एक पेज आता है for 85 rupees. ISD. So then he went on the other computer and logged in again, a different account. And said, देखो email आ गया. He replied to himself. Sir, ऐसे होता है. So I said, yeah, this is all very well, but this is the complete failure. कोई चलेगा नहीं है. क्यों? Was if I don't know anybody who has email. So if I'm the only one who has email, who will I communicate with? कोई फायदा नहीं है. It's useless. ठीक है.
Right.
And I began to walk away. No, sir, come back. मैं वापस गया. हाँ, बोलो. Sir, this is also internet. So in those days, there was no Gmail or Yahoo Mail or anything.
Yeah.
You had to get an internet and email can bundle together.
Right.
There was no webmail. Hotmail कुछ नहीं था. So he said, this is also internet. I said, internet? I never heard of it. What is that? He said, sir, internet के ज़रिए you can sit on your computer in your house or office in Delhi and you can access information stored in tens of thousands of computers
Elsewhere.
anywhere in the world.
Right.
I said, how? So he logged in again and he took me to this thing called Yahoo. Okay, now this is a mono monitor. This is shell account access. It looks like MS-DOS. You know what MS-DOS is?
Yeah.
Black and white monitor, MS-DOS.
Right.
No graphics, no nothing.
So it's not a GUI, it's a CUI, command user interface, था ना MS-DOS, right? हाँ.
ठीक है? So he says, now, do you want to browse or do you want to search? So I said, sir, let us search. So he said, what do you want to search for? I said, India. So he searched for India and a whole bunch of web pages came out. But they were all, these chotu, not really websites, they were minor web pages.
ठीक.
Taj Mahal, whatever. So penny dropped. So I said, boss, I don't want to buy internet access from you. You're too expensive anyway. I'm broke. But I want to run one of those servers which are hosting this website. I want to be a website. I don't want to be a company to access it. I said, I revived, and immediately penny dropped. I said, that old JobNet idea came back to me. I said, we want to put jobs over here. And he said, sir, I'm sorry, sir, there are no servers in India. All servers are in America. I can't help you. I said, okay. I went back, and that night, I rang up my brother. My brother's a prof at UCLA. I said, listen, man, I want a server. I want on a website. I asked him, have you heard of the internet? He said, I use it all the time. He started laughing. So I said, Acha, so you have email also? He says, I said, yeah, it's so common. So I said, really? I said, listen, I want to be able to run a website. For that, I need a server. He said, I'll get you a server. And he got me a shared server at $25 a month. I told him I can't pay you because I can't send dollars overseas. He said, no worry, I'll pay for it. Till you can pay me. And he paid for it. And हमारा $25 महीने में सब आ गया. So, there used to be a store called Central News Agency in Madras Hotel in Connaught Place. That would get newspapers and magazines from all over India and the world.
अच्छा.
So if you want to get Madonna Manorama in Delhi, वो 2 बजे you could get it over there. सुबह अखबार आता in Kerala, you'll get onto the flight, it'll reach there by 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock. So I went there and I noted down कि कौन से weekday पे कौन से paper में appointment आते हैं. I made a chart. Okay. Then I would send a peon to my office every day. Mondays, these 3, Tuesday. We used to get 29 newspapers and magazines from around the country that carried appointment ads. Created a database structure, and I got 2 data entry guys to input the job information in our format. I got a friend to do the programming, and we had a website, and we called it Naukri. We launched in April '97. And that's how Naukri was launched. When we launched Naukri, we did not have internet access ourselves because महंगा था. A friend of mine had it. So I would take 2 floppy drives. I would take 2 floppy drives to his house with the data and say,
And then send it.
and then we update the website. Twice a week, Wednesdays and Saturdays. So that's how Naukri started.
Were there any... Was there a lot of failure behind the journey with Naukri or for that matter, any like I found if I get people of your position to talk to me long enough, they will mention a moment where everything fell apart. It seems to be almost thematic for most people.
या देखो अगर आप खर्चे कम रखो ना
हाँ तो नहीं होता.
तो there's less of that.
अच्छा ठीक है.
Because then no matter how low the revenue is,
हाँ
it is still above, you're still breaking even.
right.
Right? So the key is to keep your खर्चा low. First thing. तुम्हारी तनख्वाह नहीं ली, खर्चे कम हुए.
ठीक.
Didn't hire people. I used to, even when you got internet access, I would stay up till 3 in the morning to update the site myself. Because that's when you got a stable connection.
Right.
Second-hand modem, second-hand computer, second-hand furniture. No ACs in the office.
तो फ्लैशी खर्चे अगर आप अवॉइड करो तो यू आर मच
Yeah,
मोर.
even essential खर्चे हमने अवॉइड किए.
अच्छा.
इन्वर्टर था लेकिन UPS था लेकिन बैटरी was 20 minutes. Battery is expensive.
हाँ राइट.
So all you could do was save data, save your files and wait for the बिजली to come back.
बट कुछ खर्चा तो some money takes your revenue up ना. Like there is also to be thought of like that.
So पहले 6 महीने तो revenue था ही नहीं.
हाँ था ही नहीं. सही बात है.
Then see what happened was that we began to get traffic immediately. Because what are the customer insight? Customer insight that jobs are high interest category information.
Right.
Second value prop was if the job came out in Hindu Madras and you're in Delhi, you can see it here.
Yeah.
Third value prop is if the job came out 2 weeks ago and you missed it, it's still here because we keep the job live for a month.
Right.
So as a consequence, we kept getting traffic.
Ah.
And that was the customer insight. And traffic jab aaya, right? People began to apply for the job. And in the covering letter, people would write. In those days, email नहीं था किसी के पास. बहुत कम के पास था.
सही.
So they had to send hard copy of the letter. Cover letter was dear sir, I saw your ad on Naukri.com. So the recruiter had not advertised with us.
Right.
But the application mentioned I saw your ad on Naukri.com. So the recruiters began to hear of us because of people applying.
Right.
So 6 महीने बाद पहली बार में एक फ़ोन आ गया. You know, I am so and so. I am the MD of a small automotive component in Pune. Company in Pune. I now forget the name of the company. It was our first paying client. I should remember it actually. And you know, I had advertised in the papers. You've taken my job. I've got 6 jobs that I've not advertised. If I send them to you, will you please put them up? Now, you know, we didn't have too many phones, so the phone was on my desk. And I had picked up the phone. So it was 6 p.m. one weekday evening. I said, yes, sir. Delighted to, but you'll have to pay. How much? I had not thought of it. So I'm doing very quickly in my head. And I'm thinking, what is the no-brain price that he would give?
But it'll also keep me profitable.
Because there's no variable cost, yaar.
Right, ठीक. There's no variable cost. You're right.
Okay, एक job extra में कुछ.
So it's just a price. At that point, it's just a price, right?
I said, yeah, at what price will you not complain? And he'll send the money in advance. I said, I want the money in advance. I don't want to chase money. So, and I said, yeah, okay, so TOI classified ad is $900. Half is 450. So I'll keep it less than half. But his moves nikal gaya. So it's 350 rupees a job. Okay, I'm sending you a draft of 2,100 rupees with my job by courier. And the money came. I said, you say, we've got a business model.
I know this feeling.
Okay. And then we went to the previous 6 months jobs, jo dale the humne, in the old database, took out all the addresses and the designations and the company name, and send them all a letter. 3,000 unique ones, send them all a letter saying, boss, this is internet, this is Naukri, ye job format hai. Send us your jobs. Single job listing, 350 rupees. 6,000 rupees, unlimited job listings through the year for your company. Now, what is the logic? Logic was, see, I had worked in advertising for 3 years. Now, advertising mein, David Ogilvy was considered
the king, the
God, global God.
हाँ, right.
David Ogilvy ने एक किताब लिखी थी called Ogilvy on Advertising.
Yes.
So I had got it. उसमें देखा था डायरेक्ट रिस्पॉन्स एडवर्टाइजिंग में 2% रिस्पॉन्स आता है.
ठीक है.
तो I had said, boss, ये 3,000 का database है, 2% is 60.
Yeah.
Right? तो मैं एक चिट्ठी भेजूंगा तो 60 से होंगी, as per David Ogilvy. हमारा खर्चा आ रहा है 1.8 lakhs a month.
कंपनी चलाने का. ठीक.
तो if I price it at 6,000 rupees for annual subscription and वो 60 बिक जाए तो 3,60,000 होता है. Right? So I can run the company for 2 months on that. So I can mail out every 2 months.
एक ऐड हर 2 महीने में निकाल सकता हूँ.
Mail shot.
ठीक.
And that's exactly what happened. 2% सेल हुई.
मतलब to the T 2% ही सेल हुई.
We broke even. See, but it will not be 2% in 1 month. It will be over 2 months.
Okay. So वो reply आने में, loop complete होने में, payment आने में, it's going to take that time, right?
Okay. So that's it. It actually worked. David Ogilvy was right.
Yeah. How much did you pay for Naukri.com, the domain name?
I think $10-20.
बस. And you still have that domain?
Naukri.com तुम्हारी.
हाँ, right. मतलब, and so that domain must be worth.
God knows.
Right.
So so it is as simplistic logic as that. कि मेरे को ब्रेक इवन करना है. ब्रेक इवन के लिए 1,80,000 चाहिए.
Right.
3,000 का डेटाबेस है तो 2% 60 होता है.
ये तो चलो फिर भी आप बेसिक मैथ और मतलब मैं समझ गया मैनुअल ऑपरेशन, एक लीवर पुल किया. Is there a moment where you're like, अब ये भाग रहा है, like this is faster than I think and I need to be a bigger, broader minded person or something, like was there a point of inflection like that?
So we were a cottage sector kind of company, selling through direct mail, and we were doing about 3 lakhs a month of sales, next 2 years. And we began to get calls from people in 1999 saying, maybe please invest in your company. Now, I didn't know what was happening. I said, yeah, nobody ever called me up to give me money.
Yeah. Right.
What is going on? मैं एक दो मीटिंग ले गया. So people offered me $2 million for 25% of the company.
Okay.
And I said $2 million. उसमें $40 था. I said, I didn't know how much a million was. 6 zeros. Okay, 2. So
you did the math.
Well, a C. But how many zeros? And math तो लाखों करोड़ों में didn't know millions.
Right.
So I said it sounds like 8 crores. Right? And this meeting was in the 5-star hotel, Machan, Taj, breakfast, and the guy had not visited my office. Office was trans-Yamuna in my house. Okay, ramshackle infrastructure. 160 की वोल्टेज आती थी. 3-4 घंटे बिजली आती थी. And it's offering $2 million. And I'm saying 8 crore. I'm still not sure it's 8 crores. 8 lakhs, 8 crores कितना है ये? I said, okay, I think it's 8 crores. Okay. And I could not comprehend the number. I had never seen, felt, touched, imagined, comprehended 8 crores.
Right.
So, and I'm saying to myself, so how many pizzas can I buy in Noodles for 8 crores? मेरे दिमाग में वो आ गया.
हाँ, वो McDonald's वाला स्केल होता है ना, Happy Meal नहीं, something like that. Yeah, I get what you mean.
I'm trying to comprehend the number.
Yeah, right.
In real terms. How many pizzas can I buy in Noodles? How many cheese sausage pizzas can I buy in Noodles?
Right.
For 8 crores. And I couldn't figure it out. My
math was not happening. Yeah.
I was frozen. My brain was frozen.
Yeah.
And so I said, I'll think about it.
Okay.
Let me come back to you.
Right.
Then they tried to persuade me, well, we will add value to your board. We'll just restructure your board. We'll add value to it. I said, boss, how is restructuring my board adding value, man? My board. You will not restructure my board. No, we will do this, we will do that. So, I said, yeah, this guy will go crazy in the company. So, because ये 8 साल की मेहनत है. So, मैंने मना कर दिया. I wrote a polite email. Thank you so much. I don't believe we're ready for it yet. I'll come back to you when I think we're ready for it. So, that went away.
He didn't come back with a bigger price.
We weren't negotiating price. I mean, नहीं चाहिए. Boss, I said, yeah, he'd make me sign some crazy agreement.
Yeah.
And because I asked him, but what would you do with $2 million? He said, oh, very simple. You will invest in advertising and that will build brand as a barrier to entry. And then 6 months from now, we'll raise twice the money at 4 times the valuation. And 1 year from now, we'll list you on NASDAQ. Now, I didn't know what NASDAQ was. I had vaguely heard, it's something to do with stock market in the US. I didn't know exactly what it was. And I'm saying, boss, I'm in trance. This guy is smoking dope. I think he's a very dangerous guy to let into the company. So, मेरे को price की बात नहीं थी. You can't let this guy lose in the company.
Yeah, he's too volatile.
No, he's got ambitions that I could not comprehend.
Yeah, right.
And I could not. And I said, यार मैं 9 साल की मेहनत,
कचरे में चली जाएगी. Right.
I said no. 6 months later, Jobs had launched, having raised $7 million.
Okay.
And they launched the TV ad campaign on the India-Pakistan cricket series in Sharjah. And we died of fright.
कि ये तो खा जाएंगे. हाँ.
Okay. See, basically, I had thought कि अभी देखो साल का 36 लाख टर्नओवर हो रहा है, अगले साल 60 लाख हो जाएगा, तो मैं तनख्वाह निकाल लूंगा. My ambition even then was तनख्वाह निकलेगी मेरी. I can take a 50,000 rupee salary. And that's very good. But this happened. I said, you can't be a 50 lakh company making 5 lakh
crore
profit.
में खेलना पड़ेगा. हाँ.
You have to be a bloody 5 crore company making 50 lakh profit, 10x in 2 years. And you can't do that without investing and making a loss, which means you need venture capital. So then I said, we need to go to a sensible VC, not a guy who wants us to do NASDAQ and spend money on advertising. But I told the guy, I worked in advertising. I know you won't get the money back if you spend advertising. So this is the problem with you Indian entrepreneurs. You want to make a profit. This is a new economy. I said, what do you mean? You don't make a profit? You have to make a profit. For us, profit and breaking was religion here. There's a question of valuation and then up around, and that was a game we didn't understand.
Yeah.
So then we went out to the market. And we got lucky. We didn't hire a banker. I just went to 4 people myself. And we got 3 offers, 3 term sheets. And we felt most comfortable with ICICI Venture across the table. And we raised money from them. We raised $1.7 million. And we got lucky because we raised it 2 weeks before the meltdown. So paisa aa gaya. Bubble valuation by aaya. But we didn't have time to spend the money foolishly.
Right. So that money is still intact.
Money was in the bank.
Yeah, right. You didn't buy Porsches.
No.
Yeah. That's the temptation, I'm assuming.
No, not then.
Not then. Acha. It was not fashionable to do that.
No, yeah, you had to be very frugal.
Yeah, right. And so no big failures per se. Is there any advice?
No. There was a point in time when we had 16 months money left. And our monthly salary bill was 4 times our sales revenue.
Whoa.
And there was no hope of getting the next round.
And that had happened because of some time had moved on to a place you didn't anticipate things would look like this. Yeah.
No. Basically, it's like this. We had begun to hire people.
Right.
We had moved to a bigger office.
Right.
Because my house could not accommodate so many people. All that cost money. Right.
Yeah.
But sales takes time to go up.
Catch up. Yes.
So there was that time period when we were going to go under. But I think the sales team saved us.
Any advice on how I should navigate lows and highs? Because I don't know if you see it like that, but I think what you are also selling is a very high demand product. Like jobs are a high demand product, especially in that era. And there are products that are much more higher in demand and much need advertising. It's a different category altogether. And also mine's a very up and down kind of a game, but I'm trying to understand, is there any advice for failure and how I should treat lows in my life? Patience, persistence?
Patience, certainly.
Yeah.
I think you should understand why you're succeeding.
Yeah, it's a very tricky question.
What is it about which conversation that people liked?
Right.
And that's why I gave so many views. Right? So what's your source of revenue? It's advertising?
Yeah, right.
So advertising depends on viewership.
Yes.
So why do people come and watch your podcast? If you can understand that. And which one did I watch more than which other one? So what really worked? So understand your consumer, your viewer. Right? And then deliver more of what the consumer wants.
Right.
So you will consistently get your viewership up.
Got
That's the first thing.
Sure.
Second thing is the profits and surpluses you make, what you do with them is really important. Are you saving them or are you blowing them up?
I mean,
Are you funding a expensive lifestyle?
right.
When you fly, do you fly business class?
Right.
खर्चे कितने आपके? Right?
Right.
Okay. So the surpluses you make, you should invest them wisely. Don't do stuff like angel investing. Don't do stuff like venture capital investing. See, if your business is risky, the surpluses you make and where you invest it should be safe. You can't have risky and risky on both ends. Because then you're multiplying the risk.
Right.
One has to compensate for the other. So if you're making let's say, a 2.5 crore profit a year, your after tax, let's say it's 2 crores, you should be investing it in fixed deposits and mutual fund SIPs, some debt, some equity. And mixture of large cap, mid cap, small cap, maybe multi cap.
So like diversified across so that, stability.
So that you're getting maybe 12, 15, 18% return every year.
Right.
Appreciation. So that 5 years from now, if you hit a downturn, you got maybe 15, 18 crores in the bank, earning 15, 18% a year.
Right.
So then you can draw on that return to see the organization through. तो मैं 2 कहानी सुनाऊंगा आपको. पहली है 2008-9 में जब global financial crisis हुआ. We had done the IPO, we were highly profitable, we had money in the bank. There were 2 quarters in a row where we had minus 26% YOY revenue growth. Left, right, center, everybody was sacking people. The board was saying, why don't you downsize? We are 1800 log, go down to 1400. We didn't want to do it because we felt these are our people, they built the company. And उनको भी नौकरियां नहीं मिलेंगी in a downturn. Okay, so it's really bad. It's bad karma. It's unethical. नहीं करना मैं. So पहले quarter no wait and watch. Second quarter same thing. But the third quarter board said we wanted to downsize. But it's because we had surplus cash in the bank because we kept on making profit and just salting it away.
Right.
What I'm advising you to do. Right? We told the board, अच्छा ऐसा करते हैं. Within 2 quarters or 3 quarters, we'll come down to 1400. Right? We don't want to sack. Let us figure it out. They said, okay, they gave us 2 quarters, 3 quarters. Now, what we did was a very simple thing. We simply put a hiring freeze. Said you can't hire. And we began to transfer people internally whenever there was a hiring requirement. Now, the truth also is that we sell to HR managers. So enough of our people get job offers across the table. And they leave. So we won't replace them, we'll transfer internally. Second is roughly 50% of our employees are women. The average age is 25 in the company. What it means is many of our employees are single. Now, several will get married and women, and if the husband was living in a different city, they get transferred. They would leave and go and join the husbands.
Right.
So we would not replace them, we internal transfer.
Right.
So अपने आप हम 1800 हो गए without having to sack. But we were able to do that only because we were committed to that and we had enough cash in the bank.
Right. There was a cushion that allowed you to sort of execute that. Very interesting.
Right. So build that cushion. So that tomorrow, if your organization is a downturn,
you can burn.
You can it's okay. You can fund that.
Yeah, right.
Right. The second time it happened was in COVID. April 2020.
Right.
I mean, March 24th was lockdown. April, June 2020, that quarter, Naukri had 45% negative growth. I spoke to the CFO and said, listen, Chintan, how many, if we give 0 increments and we spend 0 money on marketing,
This is all the surplus cost in a way, yeah.
discretionary you have, given the cash balance, how long can we survive? He did a stress test of everything and he came back saying 3 years. So I say, very good, we should not sack. Same reason, said boss, COVID है, वैसे ही tension है, कोई antidote नहीं है, कुछ cure नहीं है, कुछ protocol नहीं है, कुछ start sacking people, it's not good. But because we had that cash cushion, we were able to do it. If we hadn't had the cash cushion, we would have had to sack. So having that cushion is important. So today you're making a surplus. Please save it and invest it sensibly.
Got it. Any advice on family and marriage and kids, sir? Like as I grow up and sort of success follows or even failure follows, and very often there's a trade-off between ambition and family time that begs the question.
Yeah, so entrepreneurs, are you married?
Soon, 6 months.
Okay.
6 months away, yeah.
So see, entrepreneurs need to have very understanding families
Yeah, I think so.
and supportive families.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be in situations where your time is completely sucked up.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, I'd love to say work-life balance is important.
Yes.
The truth is, as a startup founder, very often it's not work-life balance, it's work-life integration.
Interesting.
That's a karma of a founder.
I see it. I know what you're talking about. It's not my time after a certain point. Maybe Sunday evening for 5 hours I have time, but otherwise it's not my time. It's somebody's. Yeah.
So, you think the company belongs to you, but actually you belong to the company.
Right. It happens very quickly. Right. And so whatever time you can find with family.
Yeah.
Is there any advice or anything that you'd like to give to me apart from all the questions I've asked? Is there something that remains unsaid?
Yeah, you see, you are in a situation where you are the factory,
Right.
and you are the brand, right? Which means that the company is crucially dependent on you,
Right.
and you are crucially dependent on your continued success, personal success. You're also in a bit of a vanity business.
Completely in the vanity business, yes.
Okay, where you're recognized, you want to be recognized, all of that.
Right.
What you need to do is to diversify the risk,
Right.
which basically means that think of 3 or 4 other shows which succeed, but you are not doing, and you are not the face, and you're not the factory,
Right.
and the other people. And think of what those themes will be. And that brand and property must belong to the company and not to the presenter. Right?
Right.
And tomorrow, if your personal brand declines or you break a leg for 6 months and you're out of action, there is still income, there is still content being produced, there's still audiences coming for those brands. The company is still earning money. So you are then transitioning to a corporation as opposed to a one-man show.
Got it. Thank you. I will think about that. Well, sir, thank you so much for your time. This has been 2 hours of us talking? 150. I hope you've enjoyed this.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Thank you for all the stories and thank you for all the wisdom. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.